Hi everyone, today we're going to be installing the touring package to your 775 All Mountain. Let's get started. One thing to keep in mind, there is also a component checklist printed on the back of the box. We place this here just so you can keep it handy while you're installing everything. Once you're ready, start by cutting the ties that are securing the box. Inside, you'll find the following items: a set of your front and rear fender, which also includes the rack. Next is a set of tires, along with 2 tubes. And lastly, you'll find the 2 black touring bags. At this point, set everything aside and make sure you have all of the items. Inside the bags, you'll find some of the remaining items, one of them being a body strap that you can easily clip on. Be sure to check both bags, as you'll find some components in there, such as the front light bracket, a kickstand, a bell, the front light, the tail light, and the designated mount, along with some hardware, specifically for certain types of suspension. If you don't have access to tools, every bike comes with a multi-tool. This has all of the necessary sizes and can be used every step. 3, 4, 5, and 6 millimeter Allen keys. And additionally, for certain types of frames, you will need a screwdriver bit. Having T-type bits in your workshop can be very handy. It can make this installation much faster. You can also use a set of your own Allen keys. If you decide to use your own tools, make sure you also have a screwdriver. A torque wrench is also highly recommended. We also suggest using a medium-strength thread locker to prevent some screws from loosening over time. Using your 6 millimeter Allen key, remove the front axle and then place your tire to the side. Located behind your forks, there are 2 screws. Start by completely removing them. Depending on your fork stanchion size, you will need the new hardware from the box. Double check this to make sure it's the correct size. This is the complete hardware that comes with the touring kit. These screws are for the 36 only. It comes with 2 long screws and 2 spacers. This is the rest of the hardware, and these 4 screws are for the rear rack. And then the short bolt and silver spacer are for the front fender. On the front fender, there are 2 loose pieces on the front and back of the fender. These bolts can be tightened down later on once it's connected. Once ready, screw in the top bolt, and do not tighten underneath just yet. Next, grab the 2 long hardware screws from the bag, apply Loctite, then tighten them. Repeat this step on both sides. At this point, the fender should still feel loose, but still connected to the forks. This is where you can now tighten the 2 bolts underneath. Next, you can tighten the 2 rear bolts. In the next steps, we will be swapping these 2 tires. Start by unscrewing the air cap. Then unscrew the air valve and push down to deflate the tire. Then apply pressure around the tire to squeeze out the remaining air. Next, grab your tire lever and insert it directly across from the air valve. Bend the tire back slightly and insert the lever. Lift it underneath, and place the second tire lever. Push down hard to fully pup the tire out. Once out, take one lever and slowly drag it to the side. Be careful not to hurt your hand. Slowly start to pull the tire off and unscrew the air valve once more. Push it through, remove the inner tube, and then you can completely remove the tire. The tires come tubeless ready, and it's up to you if you'd like to use a tubeless valve. You can also remain using inner tubes, if that is your preferred style. Before putting the front tire on, ensure the rotor is on the left side. Then, locate the indication arrow on the tire. Once you've done this, gently place it into one side. Before fully putting it on, insert the tube and air valve. Then gently insert the tube on all sides. Then push the tire inward. To avoid it pinching, you can push the tube inside further. And also adding a slight bit of air can also help with this. You can verify if you've done this correctly by pulling the tire back. When doing so, you should not see any tubing. Next, screw back on the air valve and pump up your tire. Also, one thing to note, this is the same process for both tires. The thin line should be visible all around both sides of the tire to confirm the bead is seated properly. If not, the tire may wobble or, in tubeless setups, lose pressure. Next, insert the front tire and place your through axle in. Then you will fully tighten it. It's important to double check your front fender after installing the tire to make sure it's aligned properly. If you see it's visibly crooked, it's due to the top screw being loose. To fix this, pull the fender slightly to the side and tighten the top screw. Next, we will begin removing the back tire. Shift all the way to the lowest gear. Then untighten the rear axle pinch bolt, followed by the rear axle. Now you can gently remove the rear wheel. In order for the rack to fit, your all mountains chainstay length must be in the long position. You can achieve this by unscrewing the two dropout bolts above the cassette. Then, sliding it back into the long position. Then screwing back in the two bolts. Once that's done, this can also be verified by looking at the numbers on the back of the axle. After, go to the next side and unscrew the three bolts. Then slide it back into the long position and reinsert those same three bolts. Again, it's helpful to verify it's done correctly by the engravings on the rear axle. Now to install the rear rack, you will need to unscrew the two bolts located on the swing arm. Moving the derailleur housing out of the way, gently place the rack into place. Then align the two screws from the rack to the swing arm. Once aligned, pre-tighten the 2 bolts. Just don't fully tighten them, as you'll need to put the rear wheel in. You want the rack to be able to move slightly. The long bolts are used to attach the kickstand and rack on the left side, whereas the short bolts are used on the right side. Next, take the 2 bolts that were designated for the rack and apply Loctite on them. You can screw them in by hand just to make sure everything is aligned. Then, on the other side, screw in your kickstand. Once you're done screwing in your kickstand, we recommend tightening all of the bolts once more. To reinstall the rear tire, loop the chain around the chainring and insert your rear axle. Fully tighten both the rear axle and the rear axle pinch bolt. Using the Allen key, insert it behind the front fender to verify if the clearance is okay. This is to prevent any friction or rubbing while riding. Next, torque down all of the front fender bolts. Then, do the same for the rear rack. To install the rear taillight, first unbox the mount and invert it. Then, screw this onto the seat. And then clip on the taillight and screw it in. Now to install the front light, remove both the mount and the front light from their packaging. Unscrew the bolt and then wrap it around the handlebars. Then tighten up the screw. Now you can twist on the front light. For the bell, remove the same bolt and place it around the handlebar. Then screw it back in and fully tighten it. At this point, you can remove the bike from the bike stand and adjust the kickstand to your liking. To install the rear bags first, you'll need to remove the plastic clip. You can then adjust the hangers and twist to tighten them. By angling the hanger, you can clip the bag to the side of the rack quite easily. Now is a good time to check the clearance on your pedals and shoes. In this case, the bag is too close, causing it to connect with the pedals. Here's how to adjust it. You'll want to slide over the clips to the end and tighten them. And now you can see there is no more friction. Once you're happy with the placement of the bags, you'll need to align and tighten the spacers to avoid the bags from moving. Before riding, you will also need to minimize the bag's shoulder strap. Once all of this is done, turn on your bike and test if everything is working okay. The wheel magnet isn't aligned to the sensor because we adjusted the dropout from short to long, so we will need to fix this. Then double check and confirm everything works. It's important to check the derailleur when swapping the dropout position. The B tension screw needs to be readjusted to properly set the jockey wheel distance from the cassette. In this case, the jockey wheel and sprocket are too far away from each other. In order to fix this, we must adjust this screw using the 3mm Allen key. Once the wheel is closer, try shifting again until you are satisfied with the speed. Once you are done with these steps, your touring package is ready to ride. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.